Howdy there, it is your favorite YouTuber, music producer Q, and today we're going to find out why you suck at sound design. We'll be doing it by showing how I took a ukulele and turned it into a pluck synth. Let's get to it.
If you made it this far, welcome to the Q Show. Gonna learn a thing, it's probably in the title.
Here's what the situation was. We had a collaborative track and we were trying to figure out what to do. This guy sent in this ukulele part and like you can hear it's cool, but the psychedelic themes and stuff came up. So I was like, how can I flip this into something a little more kind of on that mark, but still preserve the contribution of that member? That doesn't always have to be the motivating thing behind this stuff, but it can sometimes be a good catalyst for inspiration. So we went from that sound to this. So I'm going to show you how I went from there to there. We got our ukulele part. Now in Ableton, there's a really cool thing called Slice to New MIDI Track. On a shorter thing like this, you can actually select the transient as an option. So you do that, slicing preset built in, and what that's going to do is build a sliced up version of it, which usually more or less sounds like the original recording. But what's cool about it is you now have all your slices built in, right? So I went through that, picked the best chops, and then eventually I was left with this. Now that's cool, but when you work with this kind of stuff, you definitely want to rein it in a little bit. All right, so once we got our little chop going, it was time to do a little sound design on this to make it sound a little more clean before I do like the cool thing. So the first thing I did was, the whole thing was a little quiet and I wanted to play nice with all the other plugins. So I didn't have the foresight to raise the gain here. I could go into this and raise the gain in each one, but I was lazy. I just did it here. After that, I used the plucked to smooth some of the low end out a little bit. I love the way this EQ's curve, just the curves of the EQ I feel are very musical. When you turn off the mains, you actually give up all the cool saturation stuff that a plugin like this would kind of offer as a benefit. I'm actually going to do a cool video on how you can kind of have your cake and eat it too. You can super distance it from the noise floor, but still get that like nice color. After that, some high pass with a little bit more cleaning up, a transient. Let's go through these one by one and show what it's doing to the sound as we go through it piece by piece. So you'll see on the transient thing, I actually lowered the attack because I didn't want it to kind of be so choppy. After that, this is the fun part. I added this auto filter and it gives you the pluck synth. I chose the MS2, which is a reference to the Korg MS20. I think that's technically a 12-pole filter. I played with the resonance and frequency till I found something nice, and after that, Ableton's autofilter does have a feature where you can have the envelope respond to the attack of the audio hitting it. But this ukulele is not super strong with transients like a drum or like an aggressive bass synth would be. So what I did is I used the LFO, added the shape, and I just clocked the LFO to the rate of the trigger. And what's cool about doing a sound design like this is the sound source is like something organic, so it kind of adds like a little something that maybe wouldn't quite be there if you had just like played it on the keys, because you have like you're actually hearing the strum of the ukulele, which adds a little bit of a natural quality. But after this, my work was definitely not done. So when you add a filter like this, you're reintroducing all that low end back in, especially if it's analog modeling like the one I selected. So I added another high pass with the EQ. I always turn on oversampling on this. If you are an Ableton user, I highly recommend you get hip to that. I also highly recommend you go through all the Ableton plugins. So a lot of them have little oversampling things under the hood. If your computer can handle it, it definitely would sound better for it. Moving on, I have this little plugin called Soothe 2. I'll show you what it sounds like off and on. So you can see there's like a real aggressive thing going on right between 250 and 500. Now, and I just wanted to sound a little cleaner. This is really a cool plugin for making, when you're doing this type of sound design and you're trying to make it kind of just fit in a modern context and sound clean. Soothe 2 I find is really helpful. It is a bit of a CPU hog though, so that's something to keep in mind. Alright, and last but not least, a reverb. So once you add this little reverb, it's just one of the little Sound Toys ones. You get that real cool like stereo, a little bit of stereoization going on there. And that's the thing. To bring it back one more time, we went from to I think that's pretty cool. Transition. What did you think? Was this helpful to you? I feel like it's cool to get examples of different ways to treat sounds, because when you work with other people, you're going to run into so many cool opportunities for sound design to kind of make everything work. I'd like to thank my very first Patreon subscriber. I didn't think I would get one, so that's a step in the right direction. And of course, I would like to thank you guys for watching this video. If there's something you would like me to cover, pop that in the comments. That's all for today, and thanks for watching The Q Show.